Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome along to the Iveco TruckScience webinar. So thanks all for taking the time. A large number of attendees today, so we're truly flattered by your availability. We've got a couple of others we're expecting to join today. So thanks again. We've got a bit to get through, and if you haven't seen the platform so far or in the past, or you haven't had a look at the free trial, then after the webinar, spend some time and have a look. Otherwise, we should cover enough off today that'll give you a good insight into how flexible and how intuitive this software is, particularly in comparison to what we know is currently out there in the market. So I'm joined today by Tony Hodges. Tony's, you should be able to see him there with the white shirt. Tony is the owner of Laws of Motion, and Laws of Motion is the agent in Australia for TruckScience. So Tony's got a history going back in the transport industry, from behind the wheel as a driver and operator, and now he's a approved vehicle examiner as well. And his advice and information that some of you will be aware of, and you will have dealt with Tony over the years. You see it's a natural fit with TruckScience and the business that Tony operates with Laws of Motion. Myself, I've been around the truck industry for a number of years, and we looked at TruckScience many years ago, and it's obviously grown in popularity, and it certainly has grown in capability and features. And I think between Tony and I, we're pretty sure that this is a way forward for truck industry professionals to build the right spec trucks for your customers. So hopefully today you'll get some good examples, and if you've got any questions, please at any time just hit in the chat menu down the bottom. You'll see right down the bottom of the screen you can type in a question. Tony will answer those while we're going through the webinar, and if there's anything at the end you'd like to know, just at any time actually just start typing. So okay, so what we're doing really is we're just giving you a quick overview. It's not an in-depth description or demonstration. We just wanted to show everybody what the app is and how quick and easy it is to build a truck. Obviously we're going to go through the app, build something pretty common. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to optimize or plan for maximum payload. Putting bodies and equipment on, and if time permits, we'll compare to a competitor side by side in the app as well. So there's a bit to get through. Hopefully about no more than half an hour, we should get through it all. So like any of these tools, any of these software programs, when you're working for the customer, we're keeping a couple of practical strategies in mind. Keeping an eye on the distribution over the front and rear axles. We'll be able to show you how that's managed in the app. Importing a body and fitting it to the chassis. We actually have a body that's imported for the sake of the demonstration, and we'll show you anyway how that works. Calculating maximum payload, and there's a number of ways to do that. Keeping an eye on the compliance scorecard, and then sending the report to your customer. If your customer's right there in front of you or across town or whatever, you can email the report pretty much instantly, so he can see it. So some of the other brands are familiar with this style of compliance tool, I suppose, where you're looking to get agreement from the customer before proceeding to a contract. So the plan with TruckScience is it provides that tool to give the overview to the customer and take you to that closing stage or moving into the contract stage with the customer. All right, so we're going to move on to the app quickly. That's enough talking, so I'll just bring it up on the screen. All right, so if you're familiar with this screen, then obviously you will have gone in and had a free trial. I've spoken or emailed backwards and forwards between a couple of you guys that are here. So I know that some of you have had a look around already, and thanks for doing so. A couple of the important things just to touch on quickly. It's an axle weight calculator primarily, and all the data and all the information we get comes from the OEM spec sheets, and in some cases engineering support from the OEM, and in even some other cases, you know, the likes of Tony and myself dealing with, you know, salespeople in different dealerships, gathering different information, we can actually make an adjustment or an update, you know, within minutes. In some cases, certainly overnight. In most cases, to change the data in here. So we know our competitors have a big lag time in getting that data right. Well, you know, one example I can give you is a recent customer that we've signed up. We added the you know, it's a specialised vehicle with some modifications or some factory options, and we're able to get that added in a couple of days that the competitor wasn't able to do. So, you know, in doing so in the Northern Territory, it was a big win for the dealer up there, and they picked up 2 trucks from that sale. So, you know, we are very flexible. We have got the capability to move overnight when we need to, you know, for that case. And Tony and Akash, our local engineer, can, you know, modify drawings or update drawings and bring in data pretty quickly. So don't be afraid to ask if there's a question you have on importing information and data. Usually, as I said, someone from TruckScience would be with us today, but they've got a number of things on in another market as well. But Tony and myself meet with TruckScience once a week on a Thursday, and basically we talk about, you know, some of the current things that are happening in the marketplace, requests that come via the product board that have come from salespeople in the market, and other changes and improvements in the industry that we think are necessary for the software. So, you know, we are working quite dynamically, I suppose, and we are able to have these changes done to the software pretty quick. So it is quite a flexible app, and you know, there are about 4 changes throughout the year that happen to the data in the background. You know, one day when you log in, you'll find that you know, there might be a refresh or an update, and we'll have done some changes in the background.
Just on that, Ben. One of the biggest things that I got asked when we first took on board the TruckScience agency was how Australian is it? And so that was a big thing that I took to them. And you'll see in there, once Ben starts talking, goes through it, you'll actually see that what we have is we have different rulings. Obviously, we have the interstate rulings. We've got Victoria with their, you know, their extra weights they can get on airbag suspension or road friendly, and other states. So we're not one big country. And so what we've actually got, although it's developed in South Africa, sales and marketing is in Ireland. It is extremely Australian. Like, we've got a whole Australian set of rules, different terminology. Overseas they use hitches, we use tow bars, and so on and so forth. So although the base core part of the product is based upon, you know, engineering fundamentals, it's the models you see on this screen and what Ben's got on the screen at the moment. This is all the Australian models. So it's not like you have to go through a list and go, oh, which one was the European one, which one is something different. So they're all based upon Australian models. So you can guarantee when you bring it up that that's what's available in our market here. So you can see Ben's just brought that up on the screen just briefly then, but we've got all different variants in behind the scenes. So what you'll see is only the Australian models and not just the Australian brands, but the Australian variants of those particular models from that brand. So just, yeah, you know, I'll throw it back to you, Ben.
Thanks, Tony. I'll just add too that, you know, for those dealers that also have utes and light commercials, that we have an expanding catalogue of ute and light commercial vehicles as well on request. So the platform has the capability of putting in Hiluxes, Ford Rangers, Isuzu D-Max, and they're in there. There's a lot of them in there. So we populate that request often. So if you do have that franchise or those other products in your range, then we're more than happy to look at that once you're subscribed and up and running as well. So it's a pretty flexible tool, really. It's and it is ever growing. We're adding things every day, pretty much. Look, what I'm going to do, we're about 10 minutes into it now, so I'm going to go through and build just a little curtain sider. I don't want to get too complicated today, because it's really just about showing you the quick and easy version. So what I'm going to do really is go through just how to add a body, how to space the body into the right place, put a payload on, and make sure that we're meeting all the compliance ticks, and we'll go on and print the report. So from here, we're going to just go on and select Iveco. Now you can see obviously it brings up the current models within the range. Now, if I wanted to type in something that I was looking for in particular, then I'll just go into that menu bar at the top and type in what I'm after. So I'm looking for a Euro cargo, and as you can see in the bottom, it prompts you if there's something you can't find, then you can click on that box and it'll take you through to a menu to fill in. So I'm just going to go for a little 4x2. I'm going to build something like a 12 pallet here. So maybe, look, I'm not an Iveco expert, but what I'm going to look at here would be a 12-ton with a sleeper. So it's obviously around about the right wheelbase, and to me that looks like something I could start building a 12 pallet on. So if there's any objections there, you've got another suggestion, quickly type into the menu box and I can change that. While you're thinking about that, I'll just go around the page here just to give you some familiarity with what we've got in the menu bars. So obviously at the top, where my pointer is up here, we just go to the report. We can't do that yet because we've just got a cab chassis, but we'll get to that. We can save our drawing, and then once you've saved your drawing, you can share it either with me or Tony or anybody in your sales team that's connected within the subscription. So, for example, if one of your cadets was drawing a 10 pallet or a 12 pallet, and part of your process is to check and approve it before it goes out to the customer, then he can share it with you. You can see it immediately, modify it or update it, and then return it to him straight away, and he can send that to the customer. So you can do all that within minutes. Doesn't take a long time. So the beauty of that is we've got bodybuilders on board as well, and you can share the drawing with the bodybuilder directly, so that there's no mucking around with emailing PDF files and whatever between programs. You've got an undo and a redo button. I'm in full screen mode. It's just a full screen icon. There's a settings tab, and then there's the account tab there as well. So as I mentioned, occasionally just there's your refresh data, just to bring you up to date with the most current information on the app. So as we're going around the page there, we'll just go onto that right side toolbar, and this just is a summary page. So just basically gives us a summary of the vehicle on the table and the ratings on the bottom. So you can see there, if you wanted to narrow down on a particular element of that drawing, or if you just want to have all the table exposed, then you can have that. It has a bridge formula for the markets that require that, and some cases with different vehicles that will come in handy. Have a center of gravity as well, so depending if you've got multiple accessories or drivers or fuel tanks or pieces of equipment, then this will identify the center of gravity for those components. We'll also put those dimensions and points in the report that we'll see at the end. So for a particular customer, if it was after that, then we can provide that. There's the turning circles as well here, and as Tony mentions, with the other popular software there, there's a few strokes of the keyboard that are required to get that accurately displayed like that. Obviously, it's quick and easy here, depending on on what your configuration is and what you're doing. There's no real complication there. So I think
just a bit on that, Ben.
Tony's probably got something to add there.
Yep. So just on turning circles, this here is based upon the Australian formula, which is based upon the external tread of the wheel track. So with some competitive products, actually go on the wheel track, which is on the center of the wheel. So if you do a stretch on the wheelbase, you could potentially be 295 mil or whatever the width of the tyre is over. Whereas if you see on the drawing that Ben's got there now, it's actually based upon the Australian formula. So it's guaranteed to actually, pass when you get an inspection done, whatever the stretch is you do on it. So it's little minor changes like this to make sure that it complies with our standards are things that we've been able to get put in there.
No worry, that is a big feature for the product, obviously, and it comes in handy when you're looking at maximum length and you're right on the limit with your overall length and overhang there as well. All right, so obviously keeping on going there, you've got a side view and a top view, and then I always revert back to side view. Then you've got a detailed and a summary, again, basically of that weight table on the bottom of the screen. And here's your warning and notes. So currently there's no warnings there, just notes, and these are just things identified by the app as points of note or points of interest for the current vehicle that's on the screen. If there was something, and we'll see when we've got a drawing, there'll be a warning that'll come up, and that will remain orange until we click on that, and now you'll see that's gone. So it's just letting you know that there's something to see. We have our obviously our compliance table, and as we mentioned before, this is state-based table, and you can adjust that depending on the customer's needs and what it is that you're actually addressing for the customer and which state. So we've got people mainly from Victoria today, so and South Australia. Going up that other side there, we're looking at the left toolbar from the bottom. Obviously, there's 1 and 2 trailers, so it's self-explanatory. We have a payload icon. We'll get to that shortly. Vehicle equipment, so vehicle and body equipment can be selected depending on what you're looking for there. There's a whole selection of equipment in there, and things that aren't on there that you can add as well. If there's something on there that you want added that's not in there, then you can add it yourself if you need to, or you can ask one of us to do it. It's no big deal. Popular things are things like fuel tanks, roof scoops, things that you might buy from a supplier that's not in here that you want us to add. As long as we can get a dimension or a CAD drawing and a weight, then we can do that. You can see here someone's added a Hino 200-litre fuel tank and some hurdles as well. So just what you need. We go to the bodies. So there's a huge selection of bodies in there, and again under the other, there's a big selection of other bodies on there as well. So quite often, you might just be trying to give a customer an idea, and you might have a sample of a body, but you can go to the specific customer if it's shared by the bodybuilder and use his drawing in there. Now, to note here, you can see the icon there. That's been opted by the bodybuilder to add it as a public shared drawing. So the public yourselves are welcome to use that drawing if you deal with the bodybuilders, and that makes life a lot easier. What the bodybuilders have asked us about, and what we say is that drawing can't then be exported out of the app. So once us or the bodybuilder or yourselves have imported a DXF file, somebody can't come into that app and sneakily export it and go off and do their own drawings and so on. So if you've got bodybuilders or your own bodybuilder that you want to bring his drawings in, he can be rest assured in the security that his drawings aren't going to be pilfered by another bodybuilder. And here we have the truck menu. So what we're going to do, we might change that truck over. I'm not a big fan of the 12 tonner. We might go for something a bit bigger and go for the 160. So that looks like about the right truck. Day cab, 160, more or less the same vehicle, a little bit higher payload, obviously. And I'm going to stick a 12 pallet body on this one, and we're going to see what sort of payload we can get. So far so good, no questions. I think everybody's probably pretty familiar so far with the icons and where we're going. So if we go into the body selection icon there, and I'm going to select a curtain sider from the menu. So obviously there's a ton of other things there we could go with, but today we're just going to stick a curtain sider on here. You can see in here Oztruck already have a 14 pallet body in there, so they've shared that globally, and you know, that's available for everyone to use. You know, depending on the body or on the vehicle chassis, get that to fit. What we're going to do for today's exercise, we're going to use just a template that exists, and we're going to modify this curtain side template so that we can get, you know, the best fit and the best you know, payload that we can on this chassis. So immediately, you know, those of you that know this dimension of body quite well, you'll see there's a couple of things about it that probably don't quite add up. And so first things first, whenever I'm doing this drawing, I always go and check the crew, and I guarantee there's probably not one of us online that are 80 kilos, particularly with work boots, a backpack with lunch and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's always safe to add 100 kilos and leave it there. That way you're just buying that, you know, that little margin of error, or that little safety margin, and particularly on those applications where you're going to go close to the line, making sure you have a bit of an allowance there for one, sometimes maybe even 2 people in the cab is probably a good thing to do. So the first thing we noticed, obviously, if we have a look at our weight table, everything looks good. We've got a 9-ton limit there, so we might go and see what happens when we select Victoria, because we're in Victoria, and we automatically pick up our road-friendly advantage there at 10 ton, and you can see what that does to our payload. All right, so for most of you on the webinar today, that's probably a good point of interest, and certainly helps not just with obviously this product, but other branded vehicles that you can draw that have road friendly. Now, 7.5 ton payload. I'm estimating, you know, we've got it's a 12 pallet body, so I might just shorten this body up a little, bring it back to about let's make it 8 meters to be exact. And then you can see there that there's a little bit of chassis rear overhang there that's still sticking out. So we're going to trim that off. We're going to go to the body, and you can see there just a little box to check, and that'll trim back that piece of chassis to go in line there with the back of the body. So you'll see straight away there's notes and warnings there. Basically what it's just saying is we've just made a change to the vehicle, and just beware. So what change we've made there is we just chopped off that rear part of the chassis by a couple 100 millimeters. So once I click OK, that'll drop off, and actually that warning will appear in the report that we're going to do for the customer at the end of this. All right, so 2100 high on the body, we've got 150 subframe basically, and 100 mil floor. So it's obviously those dimensions are all quite high, but you know, I'm not a bodybuilder and I'm not a specialist in building bodies, but what I do know is we could probably push this out to 2400, and that would safely give us a height that's probably a little bit more suitable for this body type. It's starting to look like the part. I'm going to add something else to this, and we might just stick a nose cone on the front of that, because it'll be a pretty common addition to this type of body. And you can see there that takes the arc in place for the cab tilt and tells you that's probably going to foul. So there is one trick up our sleeve to manage that. If we go and click and hold on the body, we can move that body back, and in fact we'll bring that back to meet the body. So even though the cab tilt still says that it might foul with that fairing, I would say that's a template, and if we had a drawing from a bodybuilder or the fairing manufacturer we could import to get the real dimensions, we could probably get a bit more scientific about that. As you saw there, we could drag and move that body around. So just by holding on it, you can see I've got a 100 mil cab gap, and what it tells me basically here is if we click on the body and we're going to go to position, So from back of cab, it says 100 millimeters there. And often the bodybuilder or the bodybuilder's guide from the OE will specify a cab gap. Now we don't have one here, so if that means that Iveco doesn't stipulate one, or it means that we haven't added that, then please correct us. But we generally update all the bodybuilding guide or information for each OE, so that should be up to date. Just to answer Rob's question, when we choose our body, is the weight of that body taken into account? Well, let me answer that for you, Rob, because it's a good question. There's a couple of ways we can do that. We can obviously measure it by lineal meter, which it's taken on an industry knowledge of products, and in the resources tab, I can show you at the end, we have all the commodity measurements there, and what we've got here is an estimate based on the 30 odd years of experience with TruckScience on what this body lineal meter weight should be. So we're on a 12 pallet. I'd say standard steel floor would be about right, or would you go for a standard aluminium floor? I think most of the floors that we deal with, mainly in these applications, tend to be checker plate steel. Maybe a 4 mil or maybe even thicker, depending on the bodybuilder. So what they've opted for automatically here is 240 kilograms per lineal meter. That gives us just under 2 ton for the body. Now, if you wanted to change that, you can put an absolute value in, Rob. If you knew exactly what your body weight was, then you can add that, and that'll basically, it'll change the body weight straight away for you there. So I always tend to stick to that lineal meter and refer back, knowing what the bodybuilders do. And I think sometimes it's a bit safer to be on the heavy side and talk to your bodybuilder about what his lineal meter weights are as well. So that takes into account the mass there. While we're looking at that body template, obviously we have all our center of gravity positions, and this is based on a water level load. We're going to go and change that payload very shortly. But you can see the dimensions are selectable as well. We can change the way we look at some of these dimensions, and we can actually modify the body to suit specifically what we need. So anybody out there will say that obviously trying to get the right wheelbase is hard enough, but here the tool will give you the available best measurement given the wheelbase that is on the vehicle. So we can change all those if we decide to select on those. If we wanted to go for the optimum, and you can see it makes the changes for us there automatically. So I'm not keen on that, so I'm going to go back, and we'll go back again, and I'll leave it back how it was. Again, with the heights, you can change your heights in here if you know your roof thickness, if you know your subframe height, if you know your overall height, you can go and change those to suit whatever it is that you need. And again, with the width, it's the same. Here it's a bit misleading. We're saying there's no sidewall width. So let's say we've got 25 and 25. That's probably a little bit more like it. And then that'll still keep us within our overall width requirement. All right, so it's starting to look a little bit like a finished truck. We're going to go have a look at this payload quickly, because this is the one area that I think is quite an advantage over some of the other software that's out there. And basically what we can do with payload is it's dynamic. So every change we make, that payload automatically optimizes for the best payload we can possibly achieve. To show you that, if I click on that body again and we move it out to 200, you can see that we've lost 100 kilos. If we bring it back to 100, then we pick up our couple of 100 kilos. In fact, if we bring it forward to 0, it picks up more again. So for the sake of today, let's assume that that's the correct body gap, and we're working with 7.8 tons of payload. Now, if you knew exactly how much you wanted, or if you thought that was wrong, you could actually put the number that you want in there, and that stays as a constant no matter what you do with that drawing. So that payload will always stay at 7800. If you want to keep it optimized and dynamic, just uncheck that box, and every change we make, it'll continue to find the most optimal payload for you there. Now that's a simple payload. That's keeping it water level load and optimized based on maximum front and rear axles. Now it gets a bit trickier depending on what you'd like to do, what your customer's asking for. So we're assuming we're going for a 12 pallet body here, and we're going to go and simulate by putting 12 pallets on here. So you can see under the payload tab, when we select detailed payload, there's obviously a toolbar or a scroll bar here that's got a ton of different types of payload already configured, already installed, and already tried and added by various different customers and bodybuilders as well. So you can see the choice is endless. And again, if you wanted to add something, then you can do it yourself, or you could give us a yell to get us to do that. What I'm going to do here is we're going to put 12 pallets on here. So we're going to go 1200 by 1200, and we're going to see what that does. So it's obviously put us over the limit. We know that we had a payload of around 8 ton. So that's 12 pallets here that have about must be 12 or 1500 kilo payload or mass each. So I'm just going to go and adjust this because we knew the mass was around 8 ton, and we're going to go and fine tune that so we get it right. So we're pretty close there. I don't want to go too far, but what I might do is select that payload, and I might just move it back. And you can see there suddenly we've got 7800 kilo and 12 pallets positioned in the body correctly, and a little bit off from the firewall there. But if I move that body back 100, and then I can actually bring that payload again right up to the headboard, then you can see I've optimized that probably as well as I can. It's telling me there's something to look at here, and it's obviously saying look at that cab tilt clearance again because of that scoop that we put on the roof. Now, just a very quick look over here. If we look at our compliance scorecard, we've got ticks everywhere, so we can proceed. If we look at our weight limits here, things are looking pretty good. We know that we're for another state, not on road friendly, that we'd be over, but we've got a 10 ton capability here, and we're just inside our maximum GVM. So I'd say that truck is ready to go. That's a pretty good configuration. There's probably not much to add here, but I'm going to show you one thing that I can see Tony's champing at the bit to add, so I'll jump in. We've made some changes in the background to the way, as Tony mentioned, to the way we talk about hitches and tow bars. And what this does is unique. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the other software out there doesn't do this, as far as I know. But when we put a tow bar on, once we go and add a trailer, then you can see immediately, I'm going to just do a 2-axle trailer, that suddenly our rear axle maximum has changed. Even though we're Victoria on road friendly, we have a reduced rear axle capacity due to the fact that we've got a tow bar and we'll be towing. So Tony might like to add some comments to that, but there's been a fair amount of work in the background with the software to enable that series of calculations to take place and to be accurate, for the safe side of towing and providing the right information for vehicles that will be towing a trailer.
So just on that, a common part of working in Victoria is that a lot of us know with road friendly suspension we get 10 ton on a single drive, or we get 17 ton on a tandem. But there's a quirk in the regulation or in the exemption that we get for Victoria that, and this is where the engineering side and Ben's experience and all of this comes together, is that going through that, there's actually a part of that that actually says that the only trailer that you actually get the exemption for is for a semi-trailer. So if you've got one semi-trailer, so it doesn't work for B doubles, but if you've got one semi-trailer on, then you get your 17 tonne on your tandem drive. But if you put any other trailer on, even single drive tandem, then you actually lose that exemption. So if you've got someone, Albury, Wodonga, or somebody who goes interstate, or for some of the guys here now that cross over into South Australia, on this vehicle, for example, you would know that when it crosses interstate, it's going to go down to 9 tonne or whatnot. But even in Victoria, even if it's purely working in Victoria, the tow bar is okay. There's no you don't lose anything on that. But as soon as you put a trailer behind it, then you actually lose that exemption that you get for the extra tonne in this case, or the extra 500 kilos on a tandem. So the software is actually intuitive enough to know when you put a trailer on. And jumping back a couple of steps as well, even with all those different body types that Ben showed, it actually knows what particular body type goes on. So, for example, between New South Wales and Victoria, there's different rulings for garbage compactors. So you've got different overhang rulings and exemptions that you can get. So it doesn't just look at it as a pretty picture, as a van or as a curtain side or anything that goes on the back. It actually looks at what body type and what state are you in, and then do you have trailers, don't you have trailers? Western Australia, it actually looks at how wide the tyre is, so the tread of the tyre. So you've got super singles, you actually get exemptions for a higher capacity, and depending on the state that you actually go in. So although the interface looks a lot more user friendly than a lot of the stuff that's out there, there's a heck of a lot of smarts that are actually going on behind the scenes, and just simple stuff like this one here that's been shown. If you were to draw this up, normally, through some competitive stuff, you would think, all right, mate, you're right, you can go over the border and you can still run at this capacity, or even if you stay in Victoria, you can run at this capacity. But in this case here, like you can show we're already over a tonne. So to drop that tonne off where the centre of gravity is on the payload, you would actually need to lose more than a tonne. Like my gut feeling is you'd probably need to lose about probably 2 tonne to get that, or maybe 1,500 kilos to get that rear axle down to where it needs to be. So you could potentially sell someone a product that you think is fit for purpose, but by the regulations actually isn't. And I mean, we all have different fortes, like we all have different areas that we work in. And so this is just one part where we picked it up and thought, you know what, this is a big part of the software that we think if it does a lot of the thinking for us, would actually pick up on something before it becomes an error. So you show this in front of the customer looks at it and says, why is that? And you go, well, these what the rules are. All right, how about we change a different wheelbase, change sizes? Maybe we could shuffle things around. Like you fix the problem as a prevention rather than a cure, which, working in the industry, Ben and I have seen it, time and time again. It's always about damage control. How do we fix this after it's become a problem? And so what we're trying to do is actually, alert things, which may not be the best things to alert, but the thing is that these things here are critical items that will become a problem down the track as soon as they get picked up. And a year, 2 years, 6 months after we've sold the truck, you think, oh, why is this guy coming back? He's been picked up by somebody. So at least if we solve the problem now, it helps us to create the right truck for the job. So once it goes, it goes, and hopefully the next time we see them, actually it's for another truck. Not to say that, or accidentally we've been picked up on something that we didn't think about.
All right. So that's it is a point of difference and a special part of the app that and is obviously ever developing. So if there's little bits and pieces that change with the NHVR over time, then we usually update them immediately. There's no next month or next change. So things like that, we jump on pretty quickly with TruckScience, and they get updated almost immediately. So. Right, you can see what while we're chatting there.
Just a bit on there, Ben. Just if you wouldn't mind me interrupting. Paul's asked a question here about GCM. So an ML160 doesn't come with a GCM. you'll know that it generally have to put an application in. So the normal applications that I've seen are 20,500 or 25 tonne in some cases. So we list them as per the manufacturer's specs. So if you've got exemption letters, or if you've got something to actually say from the manufacturer that the GCM is there, then what happens is, as Ben's showing on here, it shows you all the vehicle masses. But when you actually put a tow bar on, what will happen is the vehicle masses will change just from the GVM. It will change into the GCM, and so what you'll be able to do is update it. So at the moment, without a tow bar, it'll say 16 tonne and 16 tonne, 16 tonne GVM and 16 tonne GCM. Once the bar goes on, it actually opens another box up on the screen there, just below Ben's mouse. It actually opens another one up to say what the GCM line is. So if you've got that exemption, or if you've got that approval, I should say, from Iveco, then what would happen is that it gives you the option to update it there. So we default at the lowest common denominator that we can get for that particular vehicle. Sorry, Ben, you have to throw a trailer on there, mate. I gave you a bit of a bump here, mate. With manufacturers that have that as part of their vehicle spec, then you'll see it on there automatically. But you'll notice on this one here, it doesn't actually have it. So you'll see on there that if Ben types in 20,500 or 25, as what I've seen on some of them, then what will happen is it will update, and obviously your combination weight will be below now, but obviously your rear axle is still going to be over. So does that answer your question there, Paul?
Excellent. And I'll just take that off. We'll just get rid of that again. And one thing I just wanted to show quickly. I'm just aware of time. We're starting to get it behind a few minutes. So one of the things I like about this, and I think for particularly brands that are under constant fire from particular other brands, you can take this vehicle, for example, and if you want to do a direct comparison, you could swap out everything that's on here. Let's say with a Paul will probably like this one, but if I set say that looks like about the right one, an FRR 110-240, and it'll bring it up, change everything over. Do you want to change over? Yes. All right, and you'll see straight away that lo and behold, the Iveco that we had actually, for this particular application, which isn't entirely the right thing, we'll try and find something that's a little bit better. The other method that we can use to do this as well is by having another tab of the app already open, and being able to show the customer the two tabs side by side. So it's a little bit trickier, but you can see those of you that know that generally they put an extension on that chassis as well, and again we're over. So just going back to that Iveco, if I was sitting there and the customer's showing you a quote for another vehicle that he's interested in, and this happens obviously, and this is one of the benefits of the software here. It's as quick and easy as it is. You can switch straight back and show, well, look, there it is, and let's just move that body back, and there we go. We've got something that the Isuzu wasn't able to deliver. So that's a very quick way, but the other way to do it is in a minimized screen. I could actually have a second tab open. You can see there, and I could do another drawing side by side on that vehicle basically while I'm talking to the customer, looking at this drawing. So you know, that is a FVD. Yeah, you're right, Paul. Sorry, just under pressure, mate. Trying to get the time thing happening here. But if I did do an FVD here, for example, then you know, you'd be able to sit here with a customer and go through the list of vehicles that are on there, and basically you know, do the direct comparison. So I could have, you know, a number of different tabs open with a number of different vehicles. You know, if you had a customer coming in, you might want to draw up all those vehicles and save them and have them open. And in fact, I've done that in the past for someone where we've had about 4 different tabs open to show what it is we're trying to achieve there. So anyway, moving right along, that's one of the features that I like, and I think you know, for some comparisons with customers, I think that works very well because they can see that the benefits of what it is you're trying to explain in front of them. Now, the next step here really is about sending the report, and you can see in the top corner here, there's our Laws of Motion logo. So if it was, you know, your dealership, and we would obviously have your dealer branding in the report for you there, and it's pretty easy to do. It takes a phone call and an email, and then you know, that all gets done as part of your subscription anyway. Please note XXXXX. Actually, we'll keep it at 4X because it's the great beer of Queensland, and those of you who know, it's the border's open for Queensland today, so I'm out of here tomorrow or Friday. Now, in the report here, you can see everything that we just saw on that main screen. We've got our compliance scorecard. We've got all our dimensions, all our weights, I should say, and all our dimensions basically here for the customer. You've got a signature block here for the customer at the bottom of each page. So, you know, there are opportunities to go through this with the customer face to face. You know, as I mentioned before, this breaks down the center of gravity, position, and mass for each component that's relevant there. And then you know, we go to the notes and warnings page here, and you know, there's a whole lot of notes there that, you know, act as an insurance for you when you're preparing the you know, the contract for the customer.
Just a quick one in that section there, just that warnings column, Ben.
Yep.
If you had something that was actually broke regulations or was an actual warning, rather than just saying, all right, well, notes, we've added or reduced. So Ben's got the 150 mil reduced, but let's say you added 150 mil or you added rear overhang. Normally something like that gets lost in the mix. Like you're working with a customer, you're working with them for a week or two or whatever it might be. Then all of a sudden you go like, oh, how come the bodybuilder wants to charge me X to add a meter onto the rear overhang? So this way here, you go through all the notes, and so in this list, it actually shows you anything that has been altered from the manufacturer's spec. So we've got in there manufacturer's rear overhangs, the OEM's rear overhangs, wheelbases. You change anything that's in that column. On the warning side, it will actually show you if you're overweight or if you're too long or whatever it might be, it will actually pop up in the warning side. So normally a sales manager or even the salesperson, as they do their check, will go through and they'll say, right, straight away it will show you a warning. All right, we've got a big problem here. We're not going to proceed. So between Ben and myself, like obviously with our it being in the industry, like we don't just see it from the computer side, we see it from the real world. And I mean, Ben's seen it a lot more from the sales side than I have, and I've seen it from the engineering side. And normally the truck's at the end of the line and we're almost pulling a hair out going, well, how did it get to this point before somebody who's picked it up? And either I've picked it up on engineering or, for example, you know, Ben would see it in the sales part and go, well, something's amiss. So what we do is on this page here, we've got a couple of checks that we go through that it's extremely clear that on the truck itself, if you're overweight, axles go red. The column itself of that particular axle will highlight red. If there's an issue with dimensions, weights, whatever it might be, it comes up. So as soon as you see something in the warning box, it's a flag for you as either a salesperson or a sales manager that like we need to look at this and fix it before we actually sign it off, rather than waiting until it's gone to build, it's out there, it's done, and then wondering why we can't deliver it to the customer on a Wednesday when it's the end of the month. We all know end of the month. It's 29th. Why are we doing it right now? So Ben's just giving an example of it there. So you see we've got red boxes, red little highlights in the axles, and we'll see in there that we've actually got a big problem. So look at the third page. As soon as you see the third page has got issues, like that's your cue not to sign off on the truck, or at least to look into why is this the case and do we have exemptions for it.
All right, so pretty big point of difference there, and particularly life-saving for customers and yourselves as well. So I definitely think this is the key to the software here, and certainly offers that security and that safety net. So the people that we've been talking to that are using it regularly, this is their this is one of the key points that helps them, I guess, build that trust with the customer, that they can identify here that there's the issue, and obviously a deal will or won't go forward based on this. So no one's going to put their signature on that page, obviously, and you're not going to get a deposit while you've got a page looking like this. So so from here, basically, let's assume that is all okay. Then we could send that off to we'll see, get it off to Tony, and he'll probably get that in the next minute or so, and that'll go straight into his inbox. If there was something, and this is something I needed to add, if there was something on here that happened that you weren't sure of, you see this green icon on the bottom of the page? Well, this is the thing I like the most. That pops up on the screen, and basically it says we'll be back online in 3 hours, because I think Tony and I both got our intercom switched off while we're doing this.
We do, mate. Yep.
But basically what this is, this is the live chat widget. So, Paul and Nathan, if you're sitting there and you're not sure what's happening, can someone help me? Bang. And in an ideal world, if Tony or I weren't in a webinar, then this would come back to Tony and I basically on our phone as a message or something, and we'd be able to address that issue. We'd give you a call or deal with it straight away. There you go, Tony's logged back in, and you can see how quick that is. I know it is a big deal for some guys, and some of the guys that we've been dealing with recently that have signed up have found this really useful. So not only is it there, but there's resources in there as well. So if you're waiting for us and you can't find what you're looking for, then chances are, we've already got Tony's showing that on his phone that the messages come through. So showing here basically the resources that we've already got might help you to get through the issue. If not, you can book a time in with one of us to go through a demo with you. So that is pretty cool. There's no one really offering that level of in-app support with this type of product. So not that we don't want to hear from you. If you have an issue, you can get a hold of us now more ways than just phone, text, email. Now you can get us on that as well. So look, that's about it really for the app as far as the app goes. So I hope that has been a pretty informative. It's been close to an hour, so I appreciate the time that you've spent with us looking at both of. Now we're not quite finished there. I'll just mention the resources. What really this is all about today is getting some people that are interested, like yourselves, and bringing you guys on board as subscribers into the TruckScience network. In the last couple of weeks, we've put on some of the biggest dealers. We've signed up some of the biggest Daimler and Fuso dealers over the last couple of months, and obviously our attention is shifting to Iveco as well. So what we wanted to offer today was obviously the pricing sets at $600 for the initial user in the dealership, and then we add users another 300, and you can have as many users as you want, basically. So if you had yourself and 2 users, you'd be looking at approximately 1,200 plus GST for a 12-month subscription. Now, we're doing we call it the Australia Day package. So we're taking that subscription out until Australia Day 2022. So if you do sign up on this webinar offer, then we'll extend this offer out until 2022. And one thing I can tell you, early next year is the pricing structure is going to change. Leading up to the Brisbane Truck Show, we're going to see some things change as well. So if you get on board now, you'll get that extra subscription period, and hopefully you'll get a little bit more value than you are out of your competitor product at the moment. So at the very least, you get 2 months of trial and use it before you really start in your 12-month subscription period. So that's all from us today. I appreciate it's been an hour, and it's been a lot of talking from me and a lot of talking from Tony. We're going to switch it off here, and there'll just be a checkbox at the end to rate the webinar. Thank you again for coming.
I'm going to throw another little bit in because I feel like I need to talk more. Just on that, there's no upfront cost per se, and there's no, because we're in the cloud, there's no separate USB sticks and adding things and when do we get an update. Whenever like your subscription cost actually includes any of the updates that come through, like that's all included. So if we release some whiz bang fandangled feature, there's no additional cost for it. It's we've got separate modules of the package, but in the actual weight calculator, everything that comes throughout the year, any update, any regulation changes, anything that comes through, it all just gets fed automatically into the browser. So Chrome, as Ben's been using, is actually the best one to use. But whichever one you use, it gets fed straight into that. And when you open it up, it comes up with a little box at the bottom says an update's available. There's no approval, no purchase orders, no how do we get it. You just click the update, it comes up, and that's in there. So that's probably just a note to put in there with that pricing on there. That's inclusive of any updates that actually get put into it. So
that's it. So I'll send out an email in the next 24 hours just to thank you guys for participating with the details of that that special and the duration of that special as well. So that's all from me. If there's no other questions, then we'll lop it off here, and you guys have a great afternoon, and hopefully we'll be talking trucks with someone soon. Excellent.
I haven't got any other questions coming. Oh, you've got Nathan popping up, mate, and Rob.
Yep. Excellent. Thanks, guys. Excellent. Good on you, gentlemen. See you later.
Thanks, Chance.